Hi, I'm Micah, and this is Deliverance Talk. Through the years of ministry that I've seen and experienced, I've seen a lot of children set free of demons. Children do have demons. Sometimes when I go around to the grocery store, some places here in the Dallas-Fort Worth area, I can hear demons screaming or yelling, making noises through the children. I've been in line and a child looking at me sitting in a grocery cart, and I could see the demon staring at me. Now you think I'm paranoid. No, I'm not, but I have discernment and I'm sensitive to these kinds of things. And it grieves me to see how many more and more children are manifesting demons in their life. And it says a lot. So what about ministry to children? We have an instance here in Mark 9 where Jesus' disciples were brought a young man by his father because the young man evidently had epileptic seizures and he was dumb and couldn't talk. The disciples weren't able to help him, and so when Jesus came, he was kind of, wow, what's wrong with you guys, so to speak? You know, where's your faith? So he asked the father a question. He said, how long has he had this? And the father said, since a child. Now it's interesting to see that Jesus would ask a question like this, and there's reason for that, because this tells us that demons can get in children very early. In fact, we know that they can even come into the womb at the point of conception, and we know that. And I'll not go any further with that, but nonetheless, this can be very serious, and so children are born with problems. And most of us certainly are born with some kind of a demonic thing that's come through our parents, unless they understood how to deal with these things. Usually this is where the strong man comes into our life, is in the womb. But we've talked about that in other times. But anyway, when Jesus rebuked the demon, or the demon even reacted when Jesus showed up, the little guy fell down. I don't know how old he was. I have had parents call me that have children that are in their 30s. They're not children, they're adults now, but they're still at home because they've got demonic problems. So I think we need to talk about this. First of all, the first thing that we see in the scriptures about children, that we look at the order of the family. It's very, very important, if possible, that the father be the one that lead the way, like in this instance in Mark 9, where the father brought the son to Jesus. Now, I know this is not always possible, but the first question I ask is, where is the father? And sometimes the father is disappeared. They don't even know where he is, and that's sad. But we've got to establish, where's the authority? Jesus always ministered with understanding that there was authority there. There was either the father, or in one case of the Syrophoenician woman, it was the mother. And where the father was of that little girl that was demon possessed or demonized, that the mother came for, no, we don't know. But we know Jesus honored her request that her daughter be set free. And that is what happened. So order is very important. Hopefully the parents bring the child, and most certainly the father bring the child for ministry. Now, the father is very, very important, always has been. But also when people reach out to us for deliverance for their children, the first thing I try to help them see is that the children are manifesting the problems often in the parents, almost always. I remember one time we had a couple come that had a little girl that she was about 8 years old, and we had her go back into our family room and lay down on the couch while we ministered to her parents. And while we were ministering to the parents who had demons being cast out of them, they were believers, the little girl began to manifest, and as though we were ministering directly to her. And so we learned through the years that who the parents are, where they are spiritually, affects the children directly. And so we don't try to minister to the children first, because we know that it won't be maintained unless the parents get some help also. Because why is the child this way? Well, parents, they're the covering. And so Satan, being like he is, he'll go to the weakest one in the family. And so if he can't get to the father, which many times he can, as in my life, in my case, because I didn't know any better, he'll go to the weaker one. He'll go to the wife. And then the demons will go to the children, and or vice versa. So understanding these ploys of the enemy, his devices of the enemy, and understanding the order of things. And this is God's way. The order is the father covering the wife there, and they're both there for the children. And when the father's not present, then the wife has been transferred this authority, delegated this authority for the children. And so the Lord wants the children free as much as the parents do or anybody else does. But understand that the parents need to come first, and as the parents get free, then it flows to the children. As the husband gets free, it flows to the wife. And that's the way God has ordered things in His kingdom. All right? Demonic reactions are something that we've seen with children. As I was saying earlier, we hear them in restaurants and grocery stores and places like that. And so, does your child have demons? Well, you probably do in most cases. If they're reacting in rebellion, if they're reacting with fear, if they're reacting to various things. Now, this brings to mind one of the things that we've seen. We were called one time to a parent's home, and another brother and I went there, and they said, our child at night can't sleep. There was a little daughter. She was about 4 or 5 years old, and she just can't sleep. She screams and cries and comes and comes to our bedroom and wants in bed with us. So I said, well, let's look at her bedroom. So we go in the bedroom, and here's this child's bed, but surrounded by I don't know how many stuffed animals, teddy bears and dolls and all these kinds of things. And we knew immediately that there was something coming through these caricatures of live things. And so we told the parents, I said, you need to clean this room out of these things, and then the child will be able to sleep. And lo and behold, that's exactly what happened. Now, people get upset about this, I understand. But I dealt with people whose children were hearing the dolls they had in their room speak to them. And so demons work through these kind of objects. It's no different than the idolatry of Israel, where the people believe that the spirits talk to them through their idols. And so, again, the enemy takes advantage of this and terrifies children sometimes. So sometimes children, it's not the demon in the child, but it's the things that are coming at the child, sometimes through their toys. Some of these super characters that they have now for kids are very demonic and affect their lives. And I think I've shared stories about that. The little boy that had asthma so bad his chest was sunken in, and it was these superhero creatures that he had, even images on his bedspread, his pajamas and everything. And the little guy went himself and cleaned his room, and he was healed overnight of this severe asthma. So children are very vulnerable and susceptible to demonic influence, especially if the parents aren't there spiritually to keep them covered and to help them. So one of the things that we see so often with children is fear. And if they're having fear, there's something there that's working with them. Some children have invisible, imaginary playmates and this sort of thing. And this comes from severe rejection. And they need help with this. And the child is not feeling love. The child is not being confirmed. Oh, that I could again go back as a father to raise my 2 daughters with what I know now. And I say to you, if you're a parent watching this, what the child needs above all is, of course, your love. And maybe your problems is that you didn't receive love, and so you don't know how, or are not able to really give that child the love that they need. But you can do this. You can confess over them. You can bless them. You can encourage them. You can say again and again, you know how much I love you and God loves you. And bring that into their life. And especially you fathers. What you say about or to your child is a powerful prophetic thing. And so bless them and confirm them and release them and know that they're the Lord's, not yours. And that we have a stewardship with our children. And if they are being oppressed and they do have problems, then help them get free. And start with yourself. Get yourself free. This is the way it works. This is a principle that God has. So, do we believe children need deliverance? Yes. I've seen years and years of it. But I also know that the parents are the key. Now, one last thing. Sometimes there are grandparents or aunts and uncles that get into a false compassion for a nephew, a niece, or a grandchild or something like that. We can't override the authority of the parent. We can pray, we can war, we can go to the Lord. But God looks at the father, the mother, and looks at the family situation. And that's His principle, that's His way, and I can't change that. So if you have a nephew or a grandchild or something that you see that really needs help, but the parents are oblivious or resistant to it, just go to the Lord and pray and intercede for them and for the child, and war against that and see what God will do. Because as Jesus said to this father, He said, look, all things are possible with God. And so if you have the faith, so believe God. And let's agree that these children can get free. Peace.